Oh yeah! It's time, everybody! Persona 5 Royal Tumble! Yeah! Okay, yeah, today I'm super excited, as you could clearly tell. Barry's pumped. We are talking about Best Girl, Makoto Nijima, Queen herself. And I love Queen, alright? Best Girl, Persona. You know, a lot of questions are asked, which girl are you gonna romance in the story? I don't even know why that's even a question. Makoto is best, objectively. I mean, check out, which girl is my desktop background? I don't see Anne anywhere. No, Makoto all the way. Alright, so, yeah, let's dive right into it. Okay, so the first thing about Makoto, let's talk about her persona, Johanna. Alright, so the cool thing about her is she can nuke the ever-loving crap out... Wait, okay, that's obviously a mistake for the thumbnail. We're not at... Wait. Oh yeah, I talk about One Piece on this channel. I guess that, I guess that does make sense now that I actually think about it. Okay, so, Barry got all dressed up for... Alright, okay, fine, I guess. I'm not changing my outfit, alright? This is the most I'm willing to go. Alright, so, alright, but yeah, let's talk about one of the three calamities, the disasters, Queen, the Plague. Alright, which... Okay, to be fair, I mean, also pretty devastating in terms of power. Probably could also rig up some sort of explosive akin to nuclear death that Makoto can dish out in the game, alright? Because Queen is sort of like the engineer of the Beast Pirates, alright? Kaido spends most of his time just drunk off his ass. King is, well, we don't want to know what King gets up to on his spare time, alright? Like, after he was done kicking the Queen Mama Shanter over the falls, he returns to base and he's like, Kaido, sir, I've dealt with Big Mom and her crew. And Kaido's like, alright, that's good, King, take the rest of the day off. He's like, oh, it's never off with me. It's always on. Alright, well, you go behind that door and I don't care what you get up to, just make sure you keep it locked and bolted shut. Alright, I don't want to hear a thing. Glug, glug. But then we get to Queen, and the first time we see Queen, him and King are kind of arguing with each other, but more than anything, they're kind of chewing out Jack. They're kind of dressing him down. Queen is there messing around with, it honestly looked like Kid's mechanical arm, or it might have been something else he was tinkering with, because he himself, Queen, does have a mechanical arm as well. So yeah, he's not really the same kind of engineer or mechanic that like Frankie is. Frankie gives off the air of like, I'm gonna make like laser cannons and super mecha armor and stuff like that. Queen gives more of the impression of like he's like a biker mechanic. He's like the kind of guy, like give him some scrap metal in like 2 hours and he can bust out a mighty hog. Something like that. Something else to go on about Queen is you have to keep in mind, he is extraordinarily funky. Alright? How funky? We're talking like John Travolta, Saturday Night Fever level funky. Alright? Like, he's like, oh yeah, funky time, right? He can cut a rug. Cut a rug. That's like a really old school term for like, I can dance good, which he can, alright? So, yeah, first time we see him, he's hanging out with King, talking to Jack, and like, we'll be straight up, like, the war is coming up now. A lot of people are excited to see what King is capable of doing. I made a video about him already, and I felt like this was pertinent to talk about Queen right now. Jack, not so much. I don't think there's a lot of people out there that are sitting down in white-knuckled anticipation waiting to see what Jack is gonna pull to this party. He might surprise us. I don't know. I mean, Jack has basically lived his entire life being talked down to by his older brothers, and he might just be like, you know what? I'm gonna psych myself up. This war is coming. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna do this. You're Jack the Trout. You're Jack the Trout. You got this. And then he immediately, like, turns into a mammoth and charges out of Onigashima, and, like, I don't know, immediately gets devastated by the minks, or, like, falls into the ocean again, or something like that. But he tried. There's like, you kind of feel sorry for Jack a little bit. Like, I'm sure there's at least one person out there that's sitting there waiting for Jack to do something cool. Like, Tekking, I want to see what Jack is capable of. He's like, yeah, alright, well, there has to be one at least. But anyway, Queen. Alright, so Queen is an Okama, which, the spirit of Bon Clay carries on. He wears the, the makeup and everything like that. He also looks like a giant balloon. That was kind of like Luffy's, name for him there. And going along with the same gun in a manga material, but basically the same kind of deal with King. King is a pteranodon. Jack is a mammoth, both extinct species. It turns out Queen is a Brachiosaur, which was a little bit weird because I didn't really know where that was going to go. I mean, it fits the theme team of Kaido of the 100 Beast Pirates. But the thing is, Jack, his epithet was Jack the Drought, because he would turn into a mammoth and like stomp out all of the agriculture, all the farmland in an island, and so they couldn't, grow anything anymore, and then that was his devastation. And then you have King the Wildfire, which we don't really know what the whole thing with that is yet, because we don't even know King's species. That's like a big point to mention, that he's a species, one of the very few that aren't in Totland, and probably one of very, very rare. He might be the last of his kind. Like I said, I did a video about King, but King is constantly, his back at least, is like lit aflame. Now, we know his devil fruit is a pteranodon, which I don't think pteranodons were really known to manipulate fire. Now, Rodan, I believe, was a pteranodon, and didn't Rodan live in like a volcano or something? So maybe there's a connection there. That's what Oda's trying to go with. But I don't think it comes from his devil fruit, which is an ancient zone. I think it might come from a device or something created by Queen. And then Queen's epithet is the plague. So I'm thinking, all right, does his devil fruit allow him to turn into some kind of, like, I think it was a scorpion, a lot of people figured for a very long time, because something venomous, something that could shoot out toxins. And, we also saw the figureheads of Jack's fleet. You see Jack's ship, which I believe is just called the Mammoth. And, very creative there, Jack. And then we have other ships that have scorpions on them, so we thought those were Queen's ships, which means Queen can turn into a scorpion. Now, that could still fit with the whole ancient zone, archetype. You could have, like, an ancient scorpion, because back in the day, I don't know if you knew this, this was, I think, even long before the dinosaurs, but, yeah, there were giant, like, insects and arthropods, marching around the Earth, because there was a higher oxygen concentration, and the size of insects, and those, like, spiders as well, they're not insects, but they all, like, are dependent on the amount of oxygen. So if there's an abundance of oxygen, they get bigger, and there's less now, so that's why insects are relatively tiny. But yeah, back then you had, like, giant myriapods, like giant centipedes, giant arachnids, and yeah, giant scorpions marching around. So yeah, that could have definitely worked. Ancient zone model, like, ancient scorpion or something like that. That would have worked. But no, he turns into a Brachiosaur, and I'm like, oh, okay. I guess it comes down to the fact, like, just because Jack's epithet involved his devil fruit, doesn't mean that the rest have to. Because, like I said, King's epithet, the Wildfire, probably has nothing to do with the fact he can turn into a Pteranodon. And Queen's epithet, the Plague, has nothing to do with him turning into a Brachiosaur. I think we were thinking a little bit too much into this there. But his epithet, the Plague, comes from him developing various types of biological weapons. Something that we've definitely seen in the One Piece world before, with Magellan using his Doku Doku no Mi, and then later with Caesar with his Gas Gas fruit. That was a weird pronunciation. I think I was like halfway between the English and the Japanese translation there, like Gasu Gasu, Gas Gas fruit. I'm like, okay, whatever. But then we get to Queen, who doesn't really, do it through his devil fruit. No, he, like, develops these biological weapons in, like, his spare time, and he creates those Excite bullets that he gives out to all of his men. Queen is the warden of the Udon prison, and he doesn't spend all of his time there, but every now and then when the prisoners get a little bit of rowdy, it's time for Queen to have a little bit of a dance number, you know what I mean? So he shows up to the prison, does the funky dance, and that funky dance lets everybody know around for like 100 square miles, Queen's coming to town, all right? Ship shape, everybody, the boss is here, okay? So the Excite bullets, okay? They are bullets that you fire at people, they pierce them, cause damage that way, but also inject the biological toxin into their bloodstream. And the only one we've seen so far in the manga is the toxin known as mummy, or the virus known as mummy, okay? So what mummy does is when you are, stricken with it, your body gets an incredibly high fever. Okay, I mean, it's, okay, the situation what's going on right now, it's not the mummy virus, alright? Let's just, like, Queen is not real, don't worry, it's not this bad, okay? But it does hit you with a really strong fever to the point where your body gets all shriveled up, to the point where, like, literal steam is coming off of your flesh, and you're like, ah! And you do turn into a shriveled up mummy, and all of the moisture gets, drained out of you, and then you collapse, and then you die. And that's what the mummy virus does, or the toxin does in that sense there. Unless you're Luffy, because you're super powerful. Although even Luffy was feeling the effects of it. Luffy has an incredibly high durability for that kind of like certain diseases and toxins because when he fought Magellan, but this was something different altogether. So Luffy wasn't immune to it. And you know what? I'm kind of glad Oda didn't go that way with it. Yes, Luffy has a very strong immunity to certain poisons, but that doesn't mean he's indestructible. If he encounters a poison that he's never dealt with before and it's particularly potent, he's not just going to have the magic cure-all for that. Sometimes, like when he was fighting against, the blue octopus, fishman, whose name is escaping me right now. It's Hyozo? Hyozo. Yeah, it's Hyozo, right? Yeah. I was gonna say Hyorogoro for a second, and I'm like, no, that's not him. But yeah, Hyozo, he, used the blue-ringed octopus, which are extremely poisonous octopus that live in our world. Luffy got attacked by him, and he was just, Chopper cleaned the wound out, and Luffy was fine. But then you get the stonefish in the hot sea that Luffy didn't become immune to that, and, Reiju had to suck out the poison that time. And then in this time, with this kind of development, this is like literally, this is not just like a normal poison that you find in nature. This is not something that like a fish just has. This is something that was biologically engineered by Queen to cause like mass death. Like that was the point of what this was. So Luffy couldn't, be immune to it, but his willpower was strong enough to keep him talking and kind of semi-conscious during it, but Chopper did have to create an antitoxin in order for Luffy to be completely healed from that. Okay. So, this was only one of the things that Queen developed, though, and considering he named that one Mummy, I'm hoping, I really am, that Oda goes with like an old school movie monster theme with these kind of things, right? Like, I'm kind of hoping that. So, we got Queen with the Mummy. I'm hoping there's maybe a vampire virus. Like this is a virus, a toxin called vampire. And when you get it afflicted with that, it afflicts your blood in some way. Maybe like you just start bleeding, like your blood doesn't clot, and you just like from the smallest of wounds, you just start bleeding out into your body, just all like it shrivels up, but in a different way, not through heat, but just by like sheer blood loss. That would be really cool. Or it like makes your blood toxic, and it's like Askanac from Bleach, and you just get that way. I was hoping there was another one called the zombie virus, where you shoot out like the excite bullets, it hits you, and your whole body is like afflicted with necrosis, like your skin goes all gangrene and just like your flesh begins to rot off. Like that would be cool. That might be getting kind of into like seinen territory. That's the kind of thing I could see happening in like Gantz. In fact, I think something like that did kind of happen in Gantz at one point. Gantz or Berserk or some kind of manga like that. But I don't know how you could make it work in One Piece, but Oda, like, go to the fullest extent you could possibly make it, but I would love to see, like, the zombie excite bullet virus, or the vampire virus, the Frankenstein virus? I don't know how that would really go, but, yeah, I'm hoping there's a plethora of other stuff. I hope it's not just the mummy virus that he has in his toolbox, which, considering how we've seen Queen and how he acts and everything, and he's always tinkering with something, there's definitely more stuff that he can pull out, okay? And he probably, honestly, keeps the best for himself, right? He's got his overalls on him, and when somebody really pisses him off, he's like, all right, this is a special virus that I developed just for this. I call it Grim Reaper, It's just like, oh, what's that do? And it's just like, oh, it just afflicts you, and then your body literally just, like, turns into ash, like, you just dissolve. Well, no, actually, kind of Magellan's Venom Demon sort of did that, but even then, that had to be sort of censored in the anime. It was pretty much just like them getting covered in the Venom Demon's, like, red goo, and then they collapsed, and they're like, ah! But I'm talking, like, straight up, like, it hits you, and it's just, like, your body just starts to crumble apart, like at the end of Naruto with Kaguya, with, like, the demonic ashbone jutsu. Yeah, like, that I'm talking, like, it's straight up kind of devastation. Okay, yeah. But don't take his Brachiosaur form like, okay, it really has nothing to do with, I was expecting like him to like breathe poisonous gas. Nothing like that. But he's a damn Brachiosaur. He's huge. He's got a long neck, alright? Have you seen Land Before Time? Do you know how devastating those things are? There's a reason why there's that R-rated version of Land Before Time, 666, Land Before Time, because things get pretty intense in the Forbidden Valley, Forgotten Valley. It's been a very, 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 very long time since I've ever sat down and watched The Land Before Time. I should at least go back and watch the first one again, right? Okay, it's a good movie series, right? But yeah, so Brachiosaur, giant dinosaur that can literally just step on you and squish you like a pancake. I prefer waffles, but in the case here, I want to be accurate. They would look more like pancakes than waffles, okay? Big Mom, when she showed up at the prison, though, it didn't really take much. It was actually kind of funny when Queen gets pissed, went into a Brachiosaur form, and then Big Mom just grabbed him by the neck and just whished him around the entire prison, causing, like, the air pressure to knock everybody down. Like, ah! What the hell? And then Big Mom's just, no, Shiruko! Boom! And just smashes Queen right into the freaking ground. And I'm like, oh... okay, that wasn't the most intimidating first outing for Queen. Queen also makes the face faults, like, beyond Jack and King. Who knows? King, after you take the Gimp mask off, maybe King will have a really goofy face. Who knows? But for right now, that's the job of Queen, to dish out the really goofy faces. Like, whenever, like, hey, Queen, Big Mom's pirates are attacking our island. Well, send the men to stop her. She wiped them all out. Gua! You know, like, and so his eyes pop out of his goggles, and it's a cool aesthetic. It's a cool scene. But, yeah. However, you know, Queen didn't get deterred. You know, getting just taken down by Big Mom wasn't, you know, enough to take him down. So he basically positioned himself on a high cliff on the prison, and then he released his ultimate technique, Brachio Bomber, which... it's got the alliteration, it's got a dinosaur in there, it's got bomber in there. So I was honestly expecting at that point, like, Brachio Bomber, like, did Queen strap, like, explosives to himself or something? But no, it's just he jumps off the cliff and then just rams his head, boom, right on top of Big Mom, and just... and then it manages to knock her out, and it, you know, honestly did kind of more harm than good, because it, like, managed to get her memories back, but then she immediately passed out, so, again, so, you know, it kind of a win and a loss there at the same time, I don't know, and, but Queen managed to succeed in at least knocking out a Yonko. You gotta give him that level of power alone. He's a goofball, but... when the game is on, he's ready to go, alright? Like, a Brachio Bomber to the head, he's got all of his devices on him, he, probably knows hockey, and I'm pretty sure it was revealed in Aviva Ricardi that they all know hockey, it's just we didn't really get to see it too much. He's got that mechanical arm, and all we really know about that thing, and I don't even know if this is automatic, but, like, Luffy went to go punch Queen's arm... I mean, we'll have to wait to see how it's handled in the anime, but at least in the manga, the way it's handled was just like the arm sort of just like grabbed Luffy's hand and then just threw him away, you know, and Luffy got knocked into a wall, you know, so it seems like, I'm assuming the arm is like mechanical to the point where it like senses incoming attacks, and like the arm just like immediately like, you know, grabs the attack and then flings them away, or it's something that Queen actually has to handle himself. If it really is like a mechanical arm, if it's not just armor that he happens to be wearing, like an augmented arm, how did Queen lose the arm? That's something that I'm kind of curious about. Did he get into a fight with, like, King at one point, or Kaido himself, like maybe a very, very long time ago? You know, Kaido is like, join my crew, glug, glug. It's like, oh, I'm too funky for your crew. I just feel like I wouldn't fit in. And then Kaido, like, ripped his arm off, and then Queen's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm joining your crew. And then he makes himself a mechanical arm, like auto mail, and just sticks it on, like, the stump, like, oh! Alright. Yeah, we're good. I like the look. I like the Edward Elric look. We can make this work. Okay, yeah. So, right. But, yeah, Queen, I honestly think, you know, when you're just, granted we don't know much about King yet, but what is more terrifying to you? Lighting fires to a bunch of places, like being able to light wildfires, you know, or, poisonous clouds of death? Both are devastating, and then you got Jack just stomping around as a mammoth. Just go off to the side, Jack. We're talking about your big brothers right now, okay? So it's like massive amounts of fire or massive amounts of poison. Personally, they're both devastating. I would side with the poison. Alright, because it's like the fire, it depends, it might be a special kind of fire, keep that in mind. It might not just be like, might be some Amaterasu shit we get, who knows? It'd be like, this is a fire that you cannot merely extinguish. Like, that would be kind of devastating, honestly, if King lit, like, the area in front of everybody on fire, and, like, you know, they try to use water to douse it, like Jinbei uses water to douse it or something, and it just doesn't work, and King's like, you know, it burns more hotter than any fire out there in the world, you know? I'm not great with syntax, but I'll make it work itself no matter what. So it might be a special kind of fire, but if it isn't, if it's just normal fire that you can just like, throw some water on, I would definitely, go with the poison death, because the poison, you inhale a single one of that, like, and you're going down, okay? Now, Chopper was able to make an antibody for that mummy stuff relatively quick. In fact, Chopper kind of said like it wasn't a big deal. Chopper might have just been being humble there. He might have just been like, oh, well, it wasn't that hard. But let's say Chopper is able to make a really quick antibody to this kind of stuff. That's just to one type of toxin. In fact, what if Queen releases the mummy toxin and everybody starts falling down, and then Chopper's like, well, I have the antibody, and he starts like going around the battlefield with like a giant syringe, like, some for you, and some for you, and some healing for you, and we'll be okay with you. And then everybody gets back up immediately, because it's One Piece. This is the world where you lose a tooth, you just drink some milk, you'll be fine. So it's like, I'm poisoned, I'm dying, antibody. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm good. In real life, like if you got, like, for example, if you got like attacked by that blue ring octopus and you got poisoned by that venom, poison and venom are different. Venom is like injecting into you, poison you have to ingest. But like you got affected by that venom. Let's say you like immediately go to a doctor and they have the anti-venom for that, and they inject you with it. It's not like an immediate thing where it's just like, all right, you'll be okay. Oh, okay, good, Doc. I could go back to home. I can be all right now. No, but this is One Piece, so they could do that. Chopper fixes everybody up, all the samurai, they get back up like, we're good, we're all right. And then Queen's like, that little Tanuki dog made an antibody for my mummy virus. All right, well, hold on a second. I call this one werewolf. And he's like, wait, what? And then he's just like, okay. And then werewolf changes everybody. Maybe it doesn't make them physically grow hair, but it like turns them like extremely violent, like makes them go berserk, like, and then they just start clawing at each other and themselves and just ripping each other apart. Maybe something like that, like a berserker kind of virus that he's got. Chopper might be able to make an antibody for that, but he won't be able to do that in the middle of a battle where everybody is afflicted by this kind of disease. You know what I mean? Not even if it's like a berserker virus, but like something else, like any other kind of toxin that knocks out a bunch of people. Chopper can't just be like, all right, guys, you go ahead. I'll stay here for like a couple hours and make an antibody. Like, he might not have the opportunity to do that. So I think a good chunk of the rebellion, at least just to showcase the power that Queen has, he's going to showcase that by dropping a bunch of these samurai. Now, keep in mind, we got like 5,000 of these samurai coming to fight, so they're not going to be anybody important, but we are probably going to lose a big chunk of those numbers to Queen. I would say a bigger chunk than Jack, and maybe even King, just because the poison could probably affect a wider area than just like one single breath and you're down. You got the Excite bullets, and you got those jumbo Excite bullets that he fires like a buckshot that like spread out everywhere. What happens if you launch that? Like, what happens if the army is charging Onigashima like, oh, Kaido, we're coming for you! And then Queen just launches that giant jumbo buckshot cannonball. Oh, crap. Even if you stop it in midair, let's say like Sanji or Luffy, keep in mind, I want to go back to Sanji in a second here. What if Sanji goes up and like stops the cannonball? It'll still explode and just... and like people are getting shot by this, and it's like, and like they start getting afflicted. So there's so many ways that this can be used to like physically damage your body in like a widespread kind of way. So Sanji, I want to see Frankie fight against Queen because it's kind of like an obvious matchup, maybe like Frankie and Usopp. But also I was just thinking, because Sanji now has the Germa tech, the stealth black suit, I kind of want to see Queen go up against that too. I'm sure Queen has heard about the Germa Double Six and their raid suits, and as an engineer, as a mechanic himself, he would probably be interested in that kind of tech. So I would kind of like to see that, at least maybe brief, to see like Queen like reacting like, what kind of tech is that? I've never seen like that before. Oh, and then it's like his eyes pop out like, is that the Germa technology? I've been obsessed with that forever. I want to see how it works. I'm gonna rip it off you and experiment, maybe something like that. So Frankie, possibly Usopp, and definitely Sanji. Frankie and Sanji definitely, I want to see clash with Queen and be the ones that actually take him down, right? This might even be kind of a situation where it's revealed, like, we would like to think that it goes in terms of, like, power scaling. It goes Jack, Queen, King, because that's like the suit of cards. But how interesting would it be for Oda to kind of throw us sort of like a curveball there and be like, well, King might be stronger than me in a few other aspects, but when it comes to like absolute widespread death, I'm your man right here. Funky time. You know, and he's like, funky, funky, and he just starts throwing the excite bullets into the crowd. And he's just like, yeah, this is going to be a concert from hell. You know, in terms of like certain things like that, Queen might be more, you know, deadly than King in that regard. But yeah, that's Queen. Let me know what you think about him below. And the fight is on. It's getting close. We're going to have some fun times, and I can't wait to see what the Calamities have in store. Mostly King and Queen. But Jack, you're part of the group too. You got the participation badge at least. You know, I kind of really do genuinely want to do a Makoto video right about now. You know, like I'm not going to because I finished, I got to edit this and everything like that, but maybe. I don't know. I'm in the middle, I'm like halfway through Royal right now. If it was ever a time for me to do it, now would be it. Let me know, I guess. Thanks everybody for watching. Tekking signing out. Fists of Justice!